I honestly think that the BDA program right now is almost more promising than the traditional BS program.
Yeah.
And I think that it is so because it acknowledges that the most intriguing things are happening in the way we understand design itself, and that the knowledge of the tradition of designing buildings is only a small fragment of it.
Yeah.
What I think, I mean, this part is simply good. That's what justifies the BDA. So the emphasis, the introduction of design thinking as the primary issue, I think is what prompted the program and what still justifies its existence. What is actually weak about it, you didn't ask it, but I think it's a very important thing to consider, is that BDA workshops or BDA education right now is about kind of endless beginnings. That in all possible courses, in all studios, in all workshops, you are expected to just kind of start something new, something different. Well, to really understand or to really engage with the issue of design thinking, you need to get to the level when your design thinking acquires certain precision, certain discipline, certain depth. And for me, that's what in some way is lacking in the BDA
program. Well, as I understand it, there's several reasons. I think probably the main reason is that we acknowledged as a faculty that the discipline of architecture, and when I say faculty, I mean the architecture faculty, that the discipline of architecture has changed dramatically in the past, let's say, two decades, and that while many students still would like to pursue the kind of traditional track for an education in architecture, that being the Bachelor's of Science in Architecture, that because the discipline had changed so much and because designers now use a variety of different skills in design and design practices and design thinking, that we would add a second degree program that was, let's say, more broad-based, something that would give students and faculty the opportunity to teach and learn a variety of skills and disciplinary practices that are related to architecture, but not so specific as the Bachelor's of Science.
That I don't quite believe that these models are quite adequate. I mean, first of all, other than Bruce Mao, I would say you are talking about models that are generally about shaping creativity or cognitive abilities or things of that kind. I think that the really important and difficult task is to understand what architectural education has been doing differently than many other kinds of education. And I'm not just talking about creativity. I'm talking about, I mean, think about it. In Italy, there are many schools, almost any bigger city, I mean, Venice, Florence, Rome, Naples, they all have architecture departments. Each of them admits about 5,000 to 10,000 students. The number of architects in Italy who actually design anything, especially anything new, is incredibly limited because of the preservation, architecture preservation restrictions. But I talked with people living, working there, architects. Many of them assume that architecture is the best general education you can get, because it actually combines things and actually finds place for very different types of education, different kinds of knowledge, and bring them together, making them productive, making them applicable, not just kind of abstract knowledge, but actually kind of something that relates to the way people live their lives, so cities grow and things of that kind. what I think is necessary in education is actually more respect for what is unique to architectural education. What is that something that actually good architects do, how they utilize the tradition of architectural education, how they develop unique methods of applying it, that is always kind of capable of engaging with completely new issues.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, that's the real task. It's not which school, existing school of pedagogy in general. I think there is something in the way we learn, in the way we design, that deserves much more attention that we are paying to it right now. Yeah. It's a known thing that if you want to see how societies were kind of structured, you look at schools, prisons, hospitals, and then these institutional forms will tell you about what was happening even before people realized that that's what it is.
No, I mean, I think Reggio Emilia and Maria Montessori are the two that come to mind. I mean, the Waldorf schools, Rudolf Steiner's Waldorf schools might be another model. Honestly, I don't know that much about that model in particular. But I know that it's also very kind of active and hands-on. But you know, I think the models you mentioned are the ones that I would also.
Oh, there are books written about this. How space of school reflected what people assumed, how people organize themselves. I can tell you that I would probably expect your workshop space, at least your workshop space, to be a little more flexible. For you to simply move tables around, to be able to actually even construct something in class, to do drawing and drafting at the same time. I mean, flexibility would be probably my biggest concern.
And I think this is actually, this is neither good or bad, but there seems to be less kind of individual focused work, and more collaboration, more fast paced, kind of making by doing, active learning. Not that the studio is not active learning, but it tends to be more individually driven. So that's why everybody has their own individual desk. And although a lot of the studios I teach are collaborative as well, but so I think for me the big difference is the fact that the environment in here has to be transformable. You have to be able to transform that quickly on the fly, you know, depending on what workshop is using the space at what time. So there's the kind of flexibility that's necessary to accommodate a variety of different courses. And I think it would probably needs to be equipped very differently. Like I would imagine that there would need to be, as I think they try to do with the kind of cubby walls, but I could imagine, you know, thinking about, let me put it to you this way, I would think about this space as more like a kindergarten classroom, and I mean that in a really good way, right? Yeah. Any preschool or kindergarten classroom, you've got like the wet space, you've got the sandbox space over there, you've got kind of this little reading nook area over here, and then you got your group meeting space where there's carpet on the floor, and I almost imagine this space is like kindergarten for adults, so that you need certain things that are fixed, like sinks, and you know, maybe there's a kind of bank of storage, and you know, places where people have their own space and their own stuff, but then things need to be able to kind of fluidly move around within that environment.